It is the Site B engine worker here, and today we are back with episode 9 of our Site B mode series. And I have our footage paused just for a couple minutes just to kind of go over some things. So, as I explained before in episode 1 and 2, in episode 1 and 3, I believe. But I expressed this a lot as far as, Isla Sorna being such a huge island, but what a lot of people don't know, well, you would know if you got a chance to visit the Jurassic World theme park from 2005 to 2015, then you would have known because you would have been able to have a chance to get your hands on some of the old Isla Sorna brochure maps. Though people weren't allowed to go to Isla Sorna during that time, you still got a chance to, get a map to, get an overall view of the island and how it looked. But if you looked at that map, you would see how big Isla Sorna is compared to Nublar. But in the like in the mid regions of the Isla Sorna map, you would see smaller islands. So those smaller islands are also a part of Isla Sorna's island chain. And one of those islands we actually visited during episode 3, and we're actually here now again in episode 9. Most of our episodes are shot on the mainland of Isla Sorna, but these other small islands that make up a part of Isla Sorna's island chain, they are also filled with a lot of animals that we've cloned and populated on these islands as well. And not only just that, our cloned dinosaurs have that they're amazing swimmers. All of them are born with the ability to swim. It's just that you have some animals that are more natural born swimmers, like some of our semi aquatic animals, and then you have some animals that don't really like to swim as much. But with all that being said, all of our cloned animals have the ability to cross large bodies of waters like these to, of course, seek out new territories and cross from island to island. So with all that being said, of course, to reiterate what happened last episode, we released Irritator, Dinochirus, and Ostroraptor into the wild of Isla Sorna. And in this episode, let's just get our footage going. In this episode, um, of course, we're going to be back to our usual format as far as picking proximity here on Isla Sorna and exploring the entire proximity to see what it has in terms of species and see how the species, act in their own natural habitats. So on this little island here on Isla Sorna, and I really wanted to express that in the beginning because I don't want anyone to ever get confused. These islands are Isla Sorna, and they make up they're a part of Isla Sorna's island chains. It's just that they're not the mainland of Isla Sorna. So, anyways, on most of these smaller islands, you guys will usually see Spinosauruses taking refuge on a lot of the beaches because Spinosauruses, Suchomimuses, Baryonyxes, and of course, our newly cloned irritators that we just released last episode, they are extremely great swimmers. Extremely great swimmers. So you'll see them crossing island from island a lot in order to take refuge and claim these other islands. So here I believe we have a couple of Spinosauruses that are actually in the area. This might be the dominant male here, the alpha male. We have two males in the area along with two females, and we have a juvenile running around somewhere. This is one of our females, and this right here, this is our other female and our other male right here. So yeah, we have two alpha males, and as I mentioned before, our new clone Spinosauruses are a lot more social compared to the individual Spinosaurus that Dr. Alan Grant came in contact with back in 2001. So there's our little juvenile baby right there. He's actually a male. You can see him sleeping. Of course, when he gets older, he'll probably stay with the family for a little bit, but of course he'll have to seek out um, his own mate and stuff like that. He'll have to find his own water and river systems, and he'll have to claim his own territory. It doesn't mean he won't be social like his parents and stuff here. His parents, and of course, his more larger, I guess you could say larger, well, it doesn't mean he won't be more social like the other Spinosauruses in his family group. It's just that he'll have to learn to be more solitary as he grows, and then from there he'll probably, get the social trait that most of our Spinosauruses are cloned with. So these four Spinosauruses, well, technically five if you count the juvenile, they are the only Spinosauruses that are on this island here as far as, this little small island that is a part of Isosorna's island chain. But of course, he has the ability, they all actually have the ability to cross islands whenever they want to, if they feel claustrophobic for whatever reason or want to seek out new territory. It's entirely up to them. They are some of the largest carnivores. Well, they are actually the largest carnivores that we've cloned. And, which means that they're the largest carnivore on this little, proximity of Isla Sorna here that we're shooting episode 9 in. So anyways, we may or may not come back to these Spinosauruses. There's not much action with these guys for the simple fact that they are on the beaches here. Usually they'll submerge themselves in water and feed on a lot of the aquatic life. They'll chill out in the beaches and stuff. And of course, they have the ability to swim in the oceans as well. But of course, swimming in the oceans mean that they'll have to come in direct contact with a lot more of the marine life. Not any marine animals that we've cloned, but just marine life that live, that live in these waters and stuff like that. So anyways, we may come back to these Spinosauruses. I want to actually get on the island here and just explore it a little bit. This is a very this island is extremely populated with a lot of beautiful vegetation, huge water streams. You can see right at the edge of this waterfall here, we have some more semi-aquatic, beautiful animals. We have our beautiful, beautiful Spinosauruses here submerging. I mean, they are Spinosaurids, but not Spinosaurus. So forgive me for that. But we have our beautiful baryonyx here. The river streams and river sources of this area is just filled with a lot of aquatic life. Baryonyxes, Suchomimesis. If I'm not mistaken, none of the irritators that we've cloned have made their way to this proximity here on Isla Sorna, which is understandable because we've cloned 10 of them. Of course, our Suchomimesis and our Baryonyxes have been on the island of Isla Sorna a lot longer compared to the irritators. But if they have made their way to this proximity here on Isla Sorna, of course we'll do our best to spot them. But if they haven't, then of course we'll see them in other episodes. And I believe we have a family of 3 adults along with 2 juveniles. There's a couple of other river systems and river streams that we'll visit here in this episode, and you'll see more of them. They're like, they're basically like our alligators and crocodiles. And as I mentioned last episode, when we cloned Irritator, Osteraptor, and Dinochirus, it was mainly because we wanted to add more life to more diversity to our semi-aquatic life. As I mentioned before, our rivers are not home to any crocodilomorphs or anything like that. At least not yet, If we do decide to clone any crocodilomorphs, you guys know that you guys will be the first to know, of course. So anyways, let's see what's on the land here. Let's get out of the river for a little bit. What do we have here? We have a sleeping. Wait, no. This is a juvenile Sinoceratops, which she's actually wounded. And right next to her is a dead Ankylosaurus and a Stygimoloch. So we're going to see if we can find the culprit. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Baryonyx, but I just got the feeling that it's not. Our Baryonyx, they would hesitate to defend themselves, but they're not necessarily aggressive animals. But this Sinoceratops, I will assume that there's... Okay, so yes. I was right. So as you guys can see, we have an adult female Sinoceratops being taken on by Dilophosaurus here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are the culprits that took down the Ankylosaurus. We have this female here standing her ground to the best of her ability. And this is actually the second time that you guys have seen Dilophosaurus in this series. You guys mostly see Velociraptors a lot more. But as you can see, these Dilophosaurus are extremely vicious. They're not... Okay, and they took her out. So I definitely would not be surprised if they are, and as you can see, the alpha male here is still trying to attack her despite her being dead. So we have 1 male and 2 females. I would not be surprised if... See what the male is running off to. I wouldn't be surprised if they are the culprits behind that dead Ankylosaurus, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are the ones that wounded that juvenile Sinoceratops. So you have another male Sinoceratops here along with a female. So they have to definitely be on their guard because obviously they're sharing this territory with extremely aggressive Dilophosauruses. We have two more Ankylosauruses in the area. The fact that those Dilophosauruses were able to take on an Ankylosaurus and a Senoceratops, I'm assuming that they're the ones that took on the Senoceratops for the simple fact that I'm assuming they're the ones that killed that Ankylosaurus for the simple fact that, we just watched them take down a Senoceratops. So that says a lot about our Dilophosauruses. As far as how many are in the area, I'm actually unsure. I would be extremely interested to see if they are capable of taking out or taking on any baryonyxes. But our baryonyxes, they're more so as you guys know, they're aquatic type of animals, so they probably aren't interested in you know, fighting with any Dilophosaurus or anything like that. Is this another? Okay, no, he's sleeping. This is a male Ankylosaurus. Okay, so we're going to continue searching this area here on Isosaurna, see what else we can come in contact with. And as you guys can see, we have a beautiful, large family of Stegosauruses here, right above this hillside that's separating them from those Dilophosaurus, Baryonyxus, and Senoceratops. Um, we have a large group of Stegosauruses, and they seem to be the only animals in this area. And as you guys seen in plenty other prior episodes, our Stegosauruses are very, very solitary. We usually only see them by themselves, and they don't mess around as far as protecting their young, their juvenile. They really, really don't play as far as guaranteeing the success of their young. We have a couple juveniles in the area, a couple males. This is a male right here. Showcase some of that sexual dimorphism. The scales on his body, as you can see, are a lot more prominent compared to the scales on this female's body. The head of him is also a little bit different as well. You can see he comes with a beak, and she doesn't come with a beak, or at least her beak is not as prominent as his. So that's just us. Usually here on Engine, we sometimes splice up the genes of our females and our males just to see what we get. Of course, these are all Stegosauruses, so of course they share all the same blood and DNA, but that doesn't mean that we don't sometimes splice up the genes with our animals here on Isosaurna. So down there is just another area of the beach. There's no Spinosauruses or anything down there. We're gonna see what we have in this little watery area. If I'm not mistaken, that's a Dryosaurus. Okay, so we actually have a juvenile Dinocyrus, which is cool because obviously, you guys don't know, but a lot of this footage is always already pre-recorded. So even though these episodes come out week by week, it's not always a week by week time frame in actuality when we're recording these episodes. So as you can see, if we have a juvenile Dinocyrus here, it's only safe to assume that Dinocyruses have made that they have swam from island to island to come to this other proximity here on Isosaurna as well. So we have two juveniles in the area, but I don't see any. Is this a adult? Three juveniles. We have three juveniles in the area, but it's funny because there's no adults that I'm seeing. It's unusual. I am happy to see that our Dinocyruses are already branching out here on the island, which of course is what we love to see, but I'm just wondering. Okay, so we actually have an Acrocanthosaurus here as well, and he killed the Dryosaurus. This is a male, and as you guys know, we released Acrocanthosaurus 2 episodes ago. We have a juvenile Dryosaurus, and we actually have our adult Dinocyrus in the back. So those juvenile Dinocyruses better be on the lookout. But yeah, so as you guys can see, a male Acrocanthosaurus could only mean that these guys has been swimming from island to island in order to find their own territory. So we're going to see if there are any more, as I mentioned, that's a juvenile Dryosaurus. We'll see if there are any more adult Dinocyruses in the area. This is just get a better view. This is one of our females, and she probably would not hesitate to protect her juveniles. but I'm not seeing any more, which is strange. We have more Dryasauruses in the area, so that Acrocanthosaurus is probably feeding mostly on those Dryasauruses. Yeah, they're all over the place. But as far as, well, okay, so we have one, two, three Dinochirises, three juveniles, one adult. But I'm not seeing any of the adults. So I don't know if that just means that there are only three juveniles and one adult in the area, or if the other adults are somewhere swimming. You know, though I work with the company of Engine, it's not often that we always visit every proximity on Isla Sorna. So some proximities I'm a little bit unfamiliar with, which is pretty cool because that gives us the opportunity to sometimes see things, you know, for the first time along with you guys. So yeah, this might just be the only Dinochirus in this area, large male, and of course three beautiful, beautiful juveniles. So maybe we'll come back to this area, and of course we'll have to check out and see if there are any other Dinochiruses in this area. As I mentioned, of course, they're sharing this area with a large, extremely large Acrocanthosaurus, and a male Acrocanthosaurus is at that. So hopefully our juvenile Dinochiruses stay safe. Of course, we don't want to see them die since they are some of the animals that we just recently released into the wild. So anyways, we're going to go over here to the edge of this cliff. I believe we have another river source over here. So yeah, so as you can see already, we have another Baryonyx. As I mentioned, here on this island, here on this proximity of Isla Sorna, our Baryonyxes and Suchomimuses, they're like crocodiles and alligators. They make up a lot of the river sources here, which is why we're probably only seeing Dinochiruses in that one area. We have a small, beautiful juvenile. And as you can see, he's hunting. Well, she's hunting. This is actually a female right here. You can tell by her colors. Her colors are a lot more bland compared to, we can find another juvenile, a male juvenile. Yes, this is a female right here, and I believe, yes, this is a male. The scales on his body are a lot more prominent, and he just looks more muscular overall compared to the female. But yeah, as I said, a lot of our river sources here in this proximity is home to a lot of, there's another female, a lot of Baryonyxes, a lot of Suchomimuses, and I'm pretty sure, more than confident, it won't be long until our irritators start migrating over here as well. Here's another juvenile Suchomimus, juvenile Baryonyx submerged in the little river. So yeah, since we've seen Baryonyxes already, we're not going to spend too much time with them. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we run into more. So we're going to go right between these two cliffs here. Speed our camera up a bit. Okay, wait, hold on. So we actually have the Acrocanthosaurus making its way over to where the Dinochiruses are. And there's that adult. I thought we were going to have a fight take place, but it seems that these guys are pretty neutral to each other. Sometimes you'll have large animals like the Dinochirus, you can see is just as large as this Acrocanthosaurus, and sometimes you'll see them kind of respecting each other's territory and each other's space. I wouldn't be surprised if the Acrocanthosaurus is responsible for the death of any other Dinochiruses, but I'm unsure. These juveniles, they probably understand to stay hidden and submerged in the water because the Acrocanthosaurus probably wouldn't venture off that far too much in the water. So anyways, we're going to see what is over here in these areas. So right off the bat, we have some Centaursauruses, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I was about to say, if I'm not mistaken, I did just hear some of the calls of a Velociraptor. We have a female Velociraptor, one of those females that Dr. Alan Grant came in contact with in 2001. Have a Pachycephalosaurus over here grazing. That female is going into that thick vegetation. We have some juvenile Centaursauruses as well. So, you know, our Hadrosaurs, as I say plenty of times before, our Hadrosaurs are like roaches. What is this? We have a dead juvenile Triceratops. So with that Velociraptor being the only animal in this area, well, being the only carnivore that I see in this area, I will only assume that that juvenile trike was killed by one of the Velociraptors. We have another Pachycephalosaurus along with more Centaursauruses. Um, Whether or not we bump into any more Velociraptors will be determined because, as you can see, um, okay, right, dang it. So we just missed it. So yes, here I knew I heard some commotion, which is why I started looking around. So as you can see, this is a large family of Velociraptors. All of these Velociraptors are the ones that not the same exact ones, but they're the variants that Dr. Alan Grant reported on back in 2001, and they just that quick took out that Centaurosaurus, and unfortunately we missed it. We've seen the Centaurosaurus going down. This is a female Centaurosaurus. So they took out that trike and they took out that Centaurosaurus. That is at least one, two, three, four. I count four, but there could be five Velociraptors overall. And the reason why these Centaursauruses are choosing to stay in this area, this area, is because obviously this is their known territory right here. So this is just, it's unfortunate that they share it with the Velociraptors. But animals are able to tell when, herbivores are able to tell when carnivores are actively hunting. So they probably have no problem sharing it with the Velociraptors, just as long as they're not the ones that's being hunted. So anyways, we're going to go up the stream here. As I said, we have more Centaursauruses and we have more Pachy's socializing with each other. So before we enter into that river source, I just want to acknowledge the beautiful family of Triceratops that we have here. There's a couple of individuals along with some juveniles as well. Let me see. Yep, so there appears to only be trikes in this area. Well, at least, on this side of that river. So we have like one or two juveniles and a bunch of other males and females. It's unfortunate that that juvenile got caught by those raptors, but life does find a way here on Isla Sorna, and of course, life will find a way in terms of carnivores feeding. So what do we have here? We have is it dead or is it asleep? Okay, it's actually asleep. So we have a sleeping couple of juvenile brachiosauruses actually. Beautiful animals. We have some of course some adult brachys as well. You won't see any juvenile brachys, without any adult brachys, and we have them grazing. This is a male, beautiful female, another beautiful female. And as I said, we have the juveniles right here. We have that one that just woke up from his nap. Gonna check this river stream out. Yeah, so as you guys can see, we already have what appears to be a Suchomimus. So yeah, we've ran into Baryonyxus and Suchomimuses so far. Unfortunately, no irritators yet, but it does not mean that irritators have not migrated to this part of Isla Sorna. And even if they haven't, it's okay because we have our beautiful Suchomimuses here along with our Baryonyxus. So we're gonna see if there are any other. So yeah, so we have two juvenile Suchomimuses as well, taking refuge amongst each other. Of course, we have the very large. You cannot. It takes to really, here at Engine, we are really privileged to be able to witness these beautiful animals in the flesh. It takes to really see these animals in person, which is unfortunate because nobody aren't allowed to anymore since the fall of Jurassic World. But it takes to really be able to see these animals in person to acknowledge their beauty. So we actually have a Tyrannus. I had to be sure. So you guys know that the Tyrannus and the Acrocanthosaurus that we seen earlier, they were on the new engine list that we revealed 3 weeks ago. And of course, 2 weeks ago, we released all of these animals into the wild from the new engine list. So we have a beautiful Tyrannus. This is actually a female. We're going to see if there's any more that could possibly be in the area. We have another Suchomimus here. That is a male Suchomimus sleeping. If we're lucky enough, we'll be able to find some more Tyrannosus. I'm super excited to see that because it just goes to show that these these animals are migrating across large bodies of waters to get to other proximities here on Isosorna. So of course we have more hadrosaurs, we have our Corythosaurus and our Parasaurolophus. You know, we see these guys taking refuge amongst each other a lot, so I'm never really surprised to see Parasaurolophus and Corythosaurus with each other. You know, I'm so used to it here on Isosorna. Um, Even Dr. Alan Grant, when he came to the island in 2001, he commented on how many um, pterosaurs and Parasaurolophus and Corythosauruses that he encountered that were herding amongst each other. So this is a common thing that you will see here on Isosorna as far as our hadrosaur groups. So I'm very interested to see if there are any more Eutyrannuses in the area because that was a female that we seen. Of course we have our beautiful brackies here. Uh so far I don't know for sure. We're just gonna double back right quick and double back to that Velociraptor territory. Um, I have another dead Centausaurus along with two other Velociraptors feeding off of it. Some more females in the back, female Centausauruses. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing any other Eutyrannuses. Does not mean that there's not more because this proximity here on Isosorna is very vast and is home to a wide variety of species. It just means that, that's the only one that we're encountering now. Same thing, as far as the irritators. It doesn't mean that irritators have not migrated to this proximity here on Isosorna. It just means that, we possibly couldn't have seen them yet. Okay, wait, so yeah, here we go. So here's another Eutyrannus. And my mistake, guys, these Eutyrannuses are actually males. It's kind of raining here and it's reflecting our GoPro. I mean, the light is reflecting, not showing too good on our GoPro cameras that much. But yeah, so two beautiful Eutyrannuses. If I haven't mentioned before, these two animals were one of my favorites to put on the new 2025 engine list when it was time to decide what animals will we add. And if I'm not mistaken, I do think we have a fight that's about to take place. We have one of the male Eutyrannuses challenging the Suchomimus. I'm actually unsure who could actually, win this battle, but the Suchomimus, as you can see, is a great deal larger and longer, but the Eutyrannus does take the first bite. We're going to see if one of these guys end up killing each other or one of them will, of course, run off, which is what usually happens in these fights with our larger carnivores. We have our other Eutyrannus circling the area. Yes, our other Eutyrannus. These are actually two male Eutyrannus brothers, and we have the Suchomimus that is heavily damaged. We have him running off, which is his best bet because these are two Eutyrannus brothers. And as I mentioned, we cloned all our Eutyrannuses together. So of course, until they separate and find their own mates, they're probably going to live amongst each other, just of course, to stay alive until they find their own mates and stuff like that. So with that being said, it's definitely in this Suchomimus' best bet to stay clear and mostly just stay in the waters, honestly, where it belongs and where it would be more safer. Because these Eutyrannuses don't swim nowhere near as good as the Suchomimus. Excuse me. So anyways, we have a couple more areas in this proximity of Isosorna to check out, so we're going to get moving. This episode should be around the 40-minute mark, which is perfect. We're going to go up this little river stream here, see if we'll encounter anything, which we probably won't. I'm not seeing anything so far. Okay, so we have some Muttaburrasauruses, which is actually pretty cool. So Muttaburrasauruses have made their way to this proximity as well. And if you guys... We actually have a large female Tyrannosaurus Rex in the area as well. And she appeared to have been chasing something. It was probably a juvenile Muttaburrasaurus. And we have a juvenile Rex as well, so of course this would be the offspring of this female. And as I was just mentioning, those Metaborsauruses are some of the new animals that we cloned on our new 2025 engine list. So as you guys can see, they have migrated to this proximity here on Isosorn as well. So that's why we love these little small islands that make up Isosornus island chain, because they give a large variety of animals the opportunity to start migrating and seeking out new territories. We have the female taking off here, and we have this juvenile Metabosaurus trying her best to protect her young. We have the juvenile Rex here, of course, learning from his mother. Oh, and now we have another Rex. So as you guys can see, this is definitely a Rex pair. This is our male here. And she appears to be chasing after. Okay, yeah, so she appeared to be chasing after the mother Metabosaurus. And forgive me if I lost you guys in the trees, but you can see the juvenile Metabosaurus is absolutely running for their lives, which they definitely should be doing. So we lost that quick. There's another Metabosaurus. Okay, I was about to say we lost the adult male, but as you can see, he just completely thrashed this juvenile Metabosaurus. He seems to be feeding on a piece of meat that fell off this little guy. Jeez, that's unfortunate, but that just goes to show you how life is here on Isosorna. So it's definitely safe to assume, they have a juvenile in the area. Two juveniles, oh wow. So two juvenile Rexes, and it's definitely safe to assume that, these Tyrannosaurs are some of the alpha animals here on the island. We have the male taking off again. We're going to see what he's running after. These guys probably spend a large amount of their time hunting for their juveniles, of course. We have another male Metabosaurus trying to defend his juvenile, but the juvenile instead foolishly takes off. So with these, yes, and we have the male chasing after him. This can get extremely scary quick for that juvenile Metabosaurus. We're just trying to keep up in the midst of all of these trees. So he might have escaped, actually. So yeah, as I was getting ready to say, I'm just distracted by all the commotion that's going on. These Tyrannosaurus probably spend a large amount of their time hunting because they have two young. So honestly, they have to do a lot of hunting. We have the male here feeding on a juvenile Metabosaurus, and we have the female a little bit further away with the two juveniles. As of right now, until we get these Rexes microchip, I'm unsure about their sexes, whether it's two females, two males, or one male and one female. So you guys can see just how aggressive these Rexes are, and we have the male Rex here taking off again. After hunting, as much hunting as they do, I was about to say he's probably going for a drink of water. So as you can see, these Rexes are the rulers on land, and those Spinosauruses are the rulers on the beach side. But I wouldn't be surprised if those Spinosauruses are fully aware of these Rexes, but probably choose to stay more so on the beaches, which would probably be smart for both of those animals. We have more Metabosaurus in the area. We're going to continue to search our areas out. We have some Edmontosauruses, beautiful, beautiful Edmontosauruses. As I've told you guys before, Edmontosauruses is some of my favorite animals here on Isosorna because they're such calm animals. Oh, we actually have another Dilophosaurus. This is actually female here. She appears to be resting. Did she knock this juvenile Edmontosaurus down? Yes, so he appears to be scarred up a little. And we have another Metabosaurus that probably made his way away from those Rexes that are over there. So the area where the Rexes are at is extremely huge with a lot of vegetation. So what we're going to do, we're going to make sure we scope out this entire area just in case we missed anything. And we're going to see what we have here. So we actually have a female Utah raptor. So this episode has just been amazing. We've already seen a large variety of animals off of our new 2025 engine list that we just revealed 3 weeks ago. And keep in mind, guys, we released all 9 of those new 2025 engine list animals into the wild 2 or 3 episodes ago. So that's a female Utah raptor. As far as it being more, I'm unsure. And we have another waterfall going down here into this little... Oh, we actually have some Ostroraptors. So as you guys know, Ostroraptors are semi-aquatic in terms of their behavior and the way that they live their lives. And we just released them into the wild last episode, so they have already migrated to new proximities here on Isla Sorna. And of course, living on a beachside is such a beautiful way for them to live because they have access to a large variety of fish life. So we have Utah raptors and we have Ostroraptors in the area. Now, of course, you know, the Utah raptors are above that waterfall, but it just goes to show the variety of animals that we have here. And not only that, we have juvenile Ostroraptors as well. So they are already, of course, breeding. So they probably sought out new territories and stumbled across this proximity here on Isla Sorna, and that's where they chose to breed at. I'm not seeing any Spinosauruses in the area because, as I mentioned, the beaches on these other proximities here on Isla Sorna are home to a large variety of Spinosauruses. That's usually where they dock at and take refuge at. So those Ostroraptors probably chose this side of the island to take refuge at because they wanted to stay out of direct contact with the Spinosauruses. So we have one female Utah raptor here. We're going to see if we can find any other Utah raptors, and we're going to get ready to draw this episode to a close soon. This has definitely been a fantastic episode as far as the diverse of species that we have seen in this episode and on this proximity here on Isla Sorna. So we have some more juvenile Muttaburrasaurus in the area. Are those the Rexes? We have one of the Rexes along with this juvenile, both juveniles, as I mentioned. Is this the female? Yes, this is the female. These guys, the female and the mother, the mother and the father Rex have to do a large amount of hunting in order to feed themselves and, of course, feed their juveniles. So I'm not surprised that as soon as we stumbled on them, we caught them mostly hunting. And as you can see, we have a dead Muttaburrasaurus here and the adult male Tyrannosaurus Rex sleeping right next to it. So he probably just killed that. What else do we have? We actually have some Homocephales in the area as well. Sleeping Muttaburrasaurus right there. We have some Homocephales in the area as well, so they, of course, will provide great food for our Utah raptors. Unfortunately, I only seen one Utah raptor, and of course, those are group animals. So I would hope that there are more, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing any more outside of that female Utah raptor that we just came across. We're gonna see if we can stumble upon her again. She was she was somewhere in this area. Here she is. And I hope she's not thinking about jumping down there. Of course, we're not breeding any suicidal animals, of course, but she's probably... The Austroraptors down here probably have caught in her attention, and of course there's juveniles along with the adults, so they definitely probably have caught in her attention, and she's probably definitely aware that those aren't Utah raptors. But it's unfortunate that it's just her, you know. I know for a fact that there's definitely, I know for a fact that, you know, of course I would know for a fact because these are the animals that we've cloned and bred, but our Utah raptors are definitely group type animals. So I'm a little bit sad about the fact that we're not seeing any other Utah raptors, but you know, the fact that they're already migrating to other proximities here on Isla Sorna, it just goes to show that, of course, we'll run into more of them later on in the future. So we have our large group of Edmontosauruses that we already just seen. We're going to circle this proximity really quick, go up this river stream, see what else can be in this river stream as we get ready to wrap this episode up. Um, this is indeed where we seen those Dilophosaurus in the beginning. And of course, that other group of Baryonyx, the other group of Baryonyxes, here's one of the juveniles, another one of the males. We have two. We have a one male Dilophosaurus seems to be standing off a female Dilophosaurus. Now, sometimes they'll do this for bragging rights, but that's usually with two males. These are two. This is one male and one female, so I'm not sure what they're. Why? Well, I'm not sure why they are trying to intimidate each other, but obviously the females seem to have scared that male off. He went to go get a drink of water. So in a minute we're gonna go check back up on our group of Spinosauruses as we get ready to wrap this episode up. I'm super saddened by the fact that we only got a chance to see one Utah Raptor. You know, Utah Raptors are an animal that I was super stoked about as far as the cloning process and when we added it to, you know, the wild here on Isla Sorna. But of course we'll see more. I'm more than confident about it. So as we get ready to wrap this episode up, we're going to end it by looking at our beautiful, beautiful Spinosauruses, which is of course the animals that we started the episode off with. We have two. We have all of them, as you can see, just resting here. We have our females, two of our females, and two of our adult males, and of course we have our beautiful, beautiful juvenile. And as you can see them all resting, and you can see the juvenile just being curious about the ocean. You know, those are waters that he will dormant later on in the future when he grow older, of course, when he chooses to, you know, cross from island to island. So anyways, guys, that is the end of episode 9. As always, as I always say, stay, you know, caught up on these episodes. You know, we never know what we're going to come in contact with in terms of animals and species here on the Isla Store. And I appreciate everybody that has been watching and keeping up with the series, commenting and stuff like that. You know, some of the highlights of this episode was the simple fact that on this proximity here on Isla Sorna, we were able to see a large number of some of those new animals that we've cloned and released into the wild in prior episodes, as far as, you know, our Dinocheiruses, our Austroraptors, Utahraptors, Eutyrannosus, Muttoborosaurus, Acrocanthosaurus, and a lot more animals. And we got to see Dilophosaurus again, which I'm super happy about because we only seen Dilophosaurus in one other episode so far. So anyways, we're going to wrap this up and we're going to draw this episode to an end, and I will catch you guys in the next Site B Mode episode. Peace.